Okay, thank you very much, Perumal and the team, to give me this opportunity to speak at India Cloud Security Summit. I think this is the first Cloud Security Summit, India Cloud Security Summit. Thank you all for. So, in today's session, we are going to talk about modern management with Intune. Basically, this is India Cloud Security Summit. So I'm going to concentrate on security policies in this session. So quickly move on and let's see what is there in the next slide. Okay. So this is a quick introduction about me. I'm a IT community influencer and Microsoft MVP from 2015, and I run a community called HTMD community. That is nothing but how to manage devices community. Okay, as you can see, my name is Anoop, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can scan this QR code. It will direct to you to the Twitter profile. Right, if you are interested to follow, you can do that. And my main key areas of focus is configuration manager. That is something like called SCCM and MEM Intune. MEM is basically Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And I started closely working with Azure Virtual Desktop as well as Windows 365, right? So these are my I don't know, expert areas, and I'm interested to work in, etc. Right? And I have a website called anoopsinai.com, and you can get a lot of step-by-step guides over there, and there are a lot of other HTMD community contributors writing their experiences, their step-by-step guide in that blog, right? And we have a forum where we answer questions, right, from the community. That forum is called htmdforum.com, right? Okay, so if you have any questions related to device management, you can use that forum to ask your questions. um, Please, guys, if you are not speaking, can you please go on mute? I don't know who is unmuted themselves, because I can't see. I'm sharing my screen, right? So please mute yourself. Thank you. So let's move on. Today, we are going to talk about how to secure Windows 365 Cloud PC with MEM or Intune, right? So I'm not going to talk about what is Windows 365, what is Cloud PC, how to get into it, etc., today in this in this session, right? So today evening I have a different session, not in this conference, in a different conference. Probably you can watch or attend that session to get more details about cloud PC, Windows 365, if you are interested. Okay, let's move on. So from my perspective, Azure AD conditional access policies are the first defense from a security perspective, right? First layer of defense from a security perspective, right? So I recommend using conditional access policies, Azure conditional access policies, for all your modern management journey, right? I have seen most of the organization who started the cloud journey is already using Azure AD conditional access policy. So when it comes to Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 Cloud PC deployments, you need to make sure you are configuring it correctly as per the organization requirement, right? So there are main three things which I want to highlight here. That is basically require multi-factor authentication, require device to be marked as compliant, require hybrid Azure AD join devices. These are the main things you need to kind of configure if you are using Azure Virtual Desktop, right? So that your Azure the virtual desktop VM access will be kind of very secured, right? So as I mentioned, that this should be your first layer of defense. Okay, just move on. Um, so this is all about modern security policy journey, right? When we started deploying the security policies from Intune or Microsoft Endpoint Manager, that is MEM, uh, it was all about device restriction policies and working around if there is no policy, particular policy which you need to implement in a device restriction policy, then you need to kind of go with the local policy, something like as a workaround. You can deploy some scripts for the local policy through Intune, and then get into that state of restrictions, right? Security restrictions. So that was the initial or early stages, right? When we started the Intune deployments or modern management with security policies, right? So the second step or second stage was around started in 2019, right? In 2019, Microsoft introduced administrative templates, security baselines within MEM or Intune, and using that we can easily secure a lot of devices in your organization using these methods, right? So don't worry about administrative template, security baseline, device restriction policies, etc. If you are not aware of that at the moment, we will cover that in the latest slides in bit more details, right? And in 2021, Microsoft again introduced a new security policies that is called settings catalog, and that is the recommended policy for most of the organizations, at least from my perspective. And I think Microsoft documentation is also recommending settings catalog type of policies in a modern world, right? Okay, let's go ahead. And this is the main slide about the security policies. So in security whenever you try to implement security policies within your organization, mostly I have seen the security teams within your organization follow some baselines or benchmarks, right? So they are not comfortable most of the time. They are not comfortable following the benchmarks or a recommendation from a particular vendor. In this case, we if we are using Microsoft Intune or MEM, then they might not be very comfortable using Microsoft Intune's recommendation or Microsoft Windows Teams recommendation, right? So that is why I have seen most of the organizations are kind of using CIS benchmark for Windows MDM policies, right? Most of you have heard about CIS benchmarks, right? But what I have seen is CIS benchmark is there for group policies, Active Directory group policies, but in a modern world, we are not using group policies, right? So we are mainly concentrating on MDM kind of Windows MDM kind of policies and MDM related policies. Those are modern policies. Those are not group policies, right? So I have not seen any CIS benchmark for Windows 10 or Windows MDM policies, right? So that is where this organization, right? This is a UK government organization comes into picture, right? National Cyber Security Center. provides a guideline, a benchmark for Windows 10 security policies, right? So if you want to check out their site about all these benchmark and baseline for Windows 10 MDM policies, security policies, you can scan this QR code. It will redirect you to this particular link. Okay. So I have seen a couple of organizations or more organizations are comfortable with NCSC benchmark for the modern policy management or security policy management, right? So you can try to have a close conversation with your security team and try to convince them to go with this particular benchmark rather than CIS. If they are looking, probably if they are looking for Windows MDM security policies, they might not get any MDM policies for at least for Windows 10 or Windows PCs, right? But there are MDM policies for iOS, Android, and other devices available with CIS. Okay. So I'm talking mainly about Windows MDM security policies over here. Okay, so let's move on and check what are the different types of policy is available. Policy configurations are available in Intune, right? As I see, before going there, they have a GitHub page also. You can contribute to their benchmark and policy configuration, recommended policy configurations as well, right? Okay, so moving on, you can, as I mentioned in the previous slide, you can use Intune settings catalog. That is the preferred method for AVD and Windows 365, right? To create and deploy Windows security policies, right, from the cloud, right? So that is first option, and the second option is security baseline. Security baseline is the easiest method, and we will cover all these in the later slides. So do not worry much about this if you are not understanding what I'm talking, right? So the third option is administrative templates. You can use administrative templates from Intune, and there are other options like custom policies, etc. You can use that also. Okay, so let's go into bit more details, right? So first thing first, preferred one, settings catalog, right? So this is a settings catalog policies. You can create a settings catalog policy from Intune portal that is called admin sender MEM admin sender portal, and basically settings catalog policies is coming from directly from Windows 10 CSPs, right? And how do you implement it? Basically, if as I mentioned, if your security team is comfortable with any third party benchmark of security policies, and if they want to apply those policies, you need to look into benchmark items or the list of security policies available in the benchmark, and go to settings catalog and filter, check whether that particular security policy is available in the settings catalog, and enable that particular policy with the benchmark value or the standard value which your security team wants, right? So that is how the settings catalog works. So I have a demo about it, so we will see more live demo of it, right, in the later part of the session, right? And there are additional, for example, if you want additional policies, some specific policies which are not covered in some other policy, policy categories, right? You can use that also with the settings catalog, and you can easily segregate user-based security policies as well as device-based security policies in settings catalog. That is also very important from a deployment or securing the devices as well as user profiles perspective, right? as I already mentioned, these settings catalog policies are based on Windows 10 CSPs. So most of the time, I have seen like in the previous scenarios, right? For example, when we started deploying the security policies, I have seen. There is a mismatch, or there's no enough parity between the security Windows 10 CSPs and the security policies available in Intune, right? So Microsoft introduced settings catalog to remove that parity issue. With settings catalog, we can have the similar parity, right? For example, when I say parity, if Windows 10 Windows MDM team is releasing a new CSP policy, then that policy will be immediately available in settings catalog as well within the admin center portal, right? So that is easy to implement. You don't have to create any manual policies, or you don't have to go for any workaround. In early days, we used to do that. That is kind of removed. That headache or overhead is kind of removed now with settings catalog. So that is why most of us from a device management community also might recommend using settings catalog policies for securing your devices, right? Okay, so now let's move on. And if you want to know more about settings catalog, yeah, and step-by-step guide how to kind of implement settings catalog, you can scan this QR code over here, and that will help you to get more details. Okay. So let's move on. Security baseline. As we touched upon earlier, this is one of the easiest way to deploy or secure your devices, right? And the use case is basically, I think, from my perspective, if you are a small organization, right, and probably if you have 10, not 10, probably 100 employees or 100 devices to manage, right? Then what you can do is you can use the security baseline. Okay, sorry. Use the security baseline option, right? Security baseline is basically Microsoft's recommended list of security settings, right? So this is coming from vendor, okay, and I have seen some of the organizations security team is not very keen to deploy vendors recommended security policies, right? So that is why they are going with CIS benchmark or any other third party benchmark security baseline, right? So if that is why I mentioned probably this is the easiest way to deploy, but you might need to convince your security team and work very closely with them to convince them to go with security baseline kind of policies, right? So security baseline policies is kind of out of box policies, a set of policies with hundreds of settings in that, right? And with the recommended settings from Microsoft itself, right? So you can see Windows 10 security policies of security baselines over here. Windows Defender security baselines are here, ready to use. Right, within 5 minutes, you can deploy hundreds of these security policies to all of your devices. Right, within Intune. Right, and you can see Microsoft Edge baseline is there, and Windows 365 security baselines are also there in this. Right, so there are some restrictions or not restrictions, some blocking issues sometimes if you are a big organization and if your security team is not comfortable with the Microsoft's recommendation, they want to have a recommendation from a third party or something like that, then there are some closed door conversations required with your security team, right, to before implementing this security baseline. But for a smaller organizations, this is the way to go, and it is not going to take more time from your perspective to implement this, right? When I say your perspective, I mean to say from a device management or security admin perspective, right? let's move on. And this is the another type of options where you can apply some of the security policies, right? I have seen this is also been used in some of the organizations, some of the big organizations, where they have a very strict recommendation from security team that okay, you need to have all these configurations, and they will do the pen test, and they will come up with more configuration, right? More configuration recommendations of security policies. In that scenario, probably you might need to go with some of these options within Intune, right? For example, if you need to have a custom kind of security policy that is not available with settings catalog, as well as with what you call the security baseline, right? In that case, in that scenario, you need to go with custom CSP policies. As you can see over here, this is the admin experience of that. I will show you in the demo, right? How to create custom security policies very quickly, and you can use administrative templates. Sometimes you need to use administrative templates sometimes if those kind of policies are not available in settings catalog or in security baseline policies, right? And you can deploy user based security policies to the Azure AD user groups, and you can deploy the device-based security policies to device Azure AD device groups. That is pretty easy from Intune, right? So let's move on and see what is another important pillar in the security world, right? From a device management perspective, right? So patching is very important, and Windows 10 upgrades, and probably whenever Windows 11 releases, Windows 11 upgrades are also very important to keep the things up to date, and to avoid any security issues. With your devices, right? With your organizational devices, right? So monthly patching is possible with Windows Update for Business from Intune, right? So this is a bit different from SCCM patching. SCCM patching or configuration manager patching uses WSUS, right, to deploy all the patches and all the security okay, articles, right? Critical updates, etc., right? Cumulative updates, etc. But in a modern world, in Intune, with Intune, you need to use Windows Update for Business. For that, Windows Update for Business policies can be configured from Intune using this type of policies, right? Windows 10 update rings, Windows 10 feature updates, and there are, if you may ask, right, what will happen if there is a 0-day patch or a critical patch which is required, right? So that option is also available within Intune. That is called some. That is what I kind of highlighted here. That this is the experience for that. You can say like, oh, okay, I want to deploy this particular critical patch within a day, right, or within 2 days, etc. So basically, if you want to know more about Windows Update for Business patching versus SCCM patching, you can scan this QR code, and there's a document that will help you to understand, right? Okay, now let's move on and see what is there in the next slide. Okay, so that's a demo So let's see some demos. So I will first go through some of the Intune portal experiences, right? And then we will quickly see what are the troubleshooting options in a modern world, right? You might know how to troubleshoot group policies, right? How to deploy group policies from a AD perspective, AD group policy perspective, but you might not be very familiar with MDM kind of group policies, MDM kind of security policies, etc. Right? So we'll quickly see how to do that. Some kind of quick glance at the troubleshooting tips. Right? I will not go into deep level troubleshooting, but some tips probably. Okay. So let me bring up my other screen. Give me a sec. Let me stop sharing and let me bring up my other screen. Where is it? Okay. This is Windows 365 portal, right? If you have not seen Windows 365, as I mentioned before, there's a different session and different conference in today evening around 5:30 India time. You can watch that. I'll be speaking about Windows 365 with Harjit on that session. So. All these demo, I'm going to do it from Windows 365 VM, right? So this is the Windows 365 portal, end user portal, and you can click on open browser from here to launch my Windows 365 VM over here. And let me log in to Windows 365 VM. Okay, so this is my endpoint portal, right? Endpoint portal. This is the Intune portal, and over here you can see the from this portal we are going to configure all the security policies, right? So this is the Intune portal that is called endpoint.microsoft .com, right? And you can see there are different nodes. I'm not going to go through all the nodes here, but I'm going to concentrate on the security policies over here. So devices, if you go to devices and if you click on Windows, you would be able to see configuration profiles, right? So this is the home page for creating the security policies, right? So one of the security policy I want to show you is the settings catalog, right? So if you want to create a settings catalog policy, you can click on create profile and say select platform Windows 10 and later, and from the profile type you can see there are two options, right? One is settings catalog is the preferred option, and it is in preview. Yeah, it is in preview, but it is fully supported from a Microsoft side, so you can deploy this in production. So there is no restrictions like that. If this is in preview, you cannot deploy it in production, etc., right? So go for it in your production environment. You can secure your devices with settings catalog. So if I select settings catalog, the template option comes with other options which we'll cover in a bit, right? First we'll see a settings catalog option over here, and in settings catalog option you will see the same screen which I showed in the slides, right? So I will say test of Windows 365, right? And I don't want to waste more time typing. So let's click on next and see what are the settings available over here. So to see that, you need to click on add settings option over here, and in add settings there is a search option available. Otherwise, if you want to have a look at what are the options available, what are the categories available over here, you can see BitLocker category is available, accounts option is available, right? If you click on account, you would be able to see settings names coming down here, right? In in the below section, right? And then if you click on allow add non-Microsoft accounts into your device, so this can be disabled or enabled, right? So if you click on this and select this option, you would be able to see what are the options available here, right? Let me click on that again and show you. Let me try to reduce the yeah, I don't know whether it's okay. Are you able to see it or not? But okay, let me select these two policies now, and let me close this, right, and go back to this, right? So these are the policies which we have selected now, and you can say like, okay, I don't want users to add their own Microsoft account to corporate devices, right? So I can disable this, and you can see if you can hover over here, you can see what does this particular policy is for, right? What is the exact use of this policy? There's a short description, and if you click on this learn more, it will redirect you to Windows 10 CSP configuration or documentation, right? You can see some examples over there, how to configure it and what is it exactly, how this is going to work in Windows 10 devices and even Windows 11 devices, etc., right? So this is the way how to configure settings catalog. And if you want to add I don't want to allow this also, right? Allow Microsoft account connection, allow Microsoft sign in assistance and all, right? So if this is your security requirement or security baseline provided by your security team to apply these policies, then you can do that. And you can see like there are other policies related to Office also, right? If you are interested to see what are the Office related policies, you can click on search, and you can search for Office related policies, and you can see like these are the options available for Office related policies, right? If you, for example, if you want to have some access related or Excel related data recovery policies, you can click on that, and you can see, okay, do not show extraction options, etc., etc., right? Click on that, click on that policy, and that will give you option to configure that particular policy. Okay, so that is straightforward kind of option, right? And say straightforward settings, right? Yeah, so for example, if you have a guideline from a security team, benchmark from a security team, that okay, we need to have this particular policy, security policy for all of our devices, then you can enable it or you can disable this particular policy, right? Depending on your requirement. And once you decide, you can click on next, right? I'm not going to go through all the security policies available. There are thousands of policies available in this add settings, right? So you need to go through each and every policy and configure it for your organization, depending on the benchmark the security team provided you, right? Okay, click on next, and probably some of the things you need to provide the sync account name, or I don't know, whatever you want, right? So just click on that, and click on scope tags, etc., etc., right? And if you scope tags is nothing but Intune RBAC. If you are interested to know more about RBACs, there are a lot of documentation available about that. I'm not going to cover that in this. And in the assignment, right? Assignment is where you can deploy this to all devices, right? If you want, you can deploy to all the devices in your organization. And if you want to deploy to only particular Azure AD devices, or you can select those groups, right? Azure AD groups from here. And you can see like I have HDMD Cloud PC group. If I want to deploy only this policy only to cloud PC devices, you can do that, etc., etc. Right. So that is the option you have. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one, right, and create it. Right. So you can see like which are the policies I have selected. So settings catalog, let me show you some of the settings catalog policies over here, right? The existing ones somewhere here. Settings catalog, right? I have settings catalog policies over here. You can see any one of the multi-session remote connection settings catalog. Let's look into this and see how many devices it got, etc. Right? I don't have any devices with that particular policy. Let's check some other setting catalog policy, right? Time zone probably. Right, time zone is also not deployed. So there are some other policies you would be able to. The idea behind is basically from this particular section of the settings catalog policy, you can see how many devices you got deployed, how many is successful, and is there any errors, etc., etc., right? And if you click on view records, you would be able to see the device list, and you can drill down and do a lot of troubleshooting with that, right? So that is all about security settings catalog. And now let's move on to the other security policies, right? That is administrative templates and something else, right? So you can see the administrative templates are there. That is one other kind of security policy which is available. Let's quickly look into administrative templates and say let's give it a name, test, and see what is it there. So there are a lot of policies available over here as well, right? There is a segregation over here, computer configurations, user configuration. This is almost similar to group policies, right? So on-prem group policies. So if you want to, for example, if you want to select some personalization in control panel, you can click on this, and you can see like I want to check see what is it exactly. So this gives you the similar experience as group policy, right? And the text is also same, right? I think they have adopted the Intune team adopted this from group policy templates, right? They have not changed much of the things over in the text also over here. So it is pretty straightforward if you're familiar with group policies. So this is a cloud kind of group policy, right? Cloud security policies, but you can enable this, or you can disable this, etc., etc. You can do whatever you want as per the requirement, organization's requirement, right? So this is also straightforward. You can select one particular policy, and if you want to check there are any other security policies which you want, PowerPoint. If I check PowerPoint, right? So PowerPoint related policies are there, and you can see settings type, whether it's a user-based policy or it's a device-based policy or etc. Right? So if I select this, and you can disable it, you can enable it, or you can disable it, etc. Right, as per your requirement. So this is kind of straightforward, right? And the same like other policy flow, policy creation flow. You can see settings scope tags over here, and you can see assignments options, scope tags for Intune RBAC, and assignments over here. You can say like I want to deploy to all the devices, right? So that is going to be a tricky one if you are not going to use Intune filters and all. I'm not going to cover Intune filters in this session, but Intune filters is kind of advanced defaults, deployment methods to filter out some of the devices from the policies, etc. Right? So if you want to add a particular cloud PC Azure AD device group, you can do that. And if you want to add a user group, that is also possible from here, right? So this is basically Azure deploying to Azure AD device group or Azure AD user group. Okay, so click on next and finish and create this particular administrative template. So that is the way to deploy administrative template security policies from Intune. Okay, and the third thing I'm going to cover in this is basically quickly is custom policies, right? For example, if you want to see some, if you are looking for a specific policy and that particular policy is not available in the settings catalog or in administrative templates, then you need to use the custom policies, right? Test custom policy. Okay, so this is all already selected platform and profile type. So let's click on next and see add option over here. This is very complex, a bit more complex to implement. You need to refer to Windows 10 CSP documentation, and you need to get an OMA URI details, and you need to put OMA URI details over here, and you need to specify what type of value that particular OMA URI is looking for. If you are not familiar with OMA URI and all, we have a lot of documentation. Probably if you can connect with me offline, I can forward you those links, right? And other training videos if you want, right? So this is the basic idea to configure custom policies, security policies in with Intune, right? You can also upload XML files for some of the OMA URIs configurations from this option. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this in details now, but probably I will try to do some checking whether I have any custom policy available here. Okay, so this is the good one. I think disable enrollment status page. This is the policy I used. And if you look at the overview page, you would be able to see how many devices it got deployed, etc. Right? And device status, etc., user status, etc., right, from here. And even per settings status, right? Each OMA URI you can go into, and you can check which is the policy is having error, etc. Okay, so that is there. Let's go back and quickly show you the security baselines. So security baselines is available in endpoint security node in admin center console or portal, right? If you this is basically for this endpoint security is basically for security team, right? And for the collaboration between security team and device management team, basically. Okay, so if you go to security baseline, you would be able to see the default security baseline options available here. So Windows 10 securities, Windows 365 security baselines, etc. Right? Let's click on Windows 365 security baseline, and as I mentioned, if your security in the slides, right? If your security team is comfortable with Microsoft recommended baseline policies, so this is the easiest way to deploy the security policies to your organizational devices, right? And this is pretty straightforward. Let's go through the admin experience of it by creating one quickly. So create a policy, security policy, and say, okay, security for Windows 365. Okay, don't worry about the spellings. So over here you can see these are the default security policies available with the recommended values, right? Some of the policies are already enabled. Above block is already kind of disabled, right? That is the recommended policy settings from Microsoft. And app runtime is enabled, right? So for example, if your security team is not happy with this, you can change it, but you have only limited options for some of the policies, right? So you can either customize the baseline policies as per your requirement. That is one option, and the other option is adopt the Microsoft recommended security baseline and directly go through all the policies and test it in your staging environment, and then kind of deploying it is pretty easy, right? If you want to check all these configurations, you can go through it, and after going
Anup,
through
sorry
it,
to interrupt. A quick time check. You have 5 more minutes left.
I think we started 10 minutes late, so I should get
Okay,
other
fine.
10 minutes more. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for the understanding. Okay, anyways, okay, security scope tags. Scope tags is the Intune RBAC again, and this assignment is again the same thing, the same flow, for everywhere within the Intune portal or admin center portal. Okay, so you can deploy to all the devices in your organization, or you can deploy to a particular device or particular group in your organization, device group or user group in your organization. That's perfectly fine, right? I'm not going to go do that right now. Let's create that. So you have created the security policy within 2 minutes or so, right? That's straightforward. You don't have to pick and choose every policy, right? Individual policies, right? So let's have a quick look at the existing policy which I already deployed to Windows 365 devices in my demo tenant, right? So let's have a look and see. Okay, this particular security baseline policy is deployed to 3 of my devices, and you can see, you can drill down and go to properties, and you can see like which are the settings configured, what are the default values configured, etc. over here, right, within the policies. And in the device status, you can see which are the devices got the policies, etc., right? And over here you would be able to see the exact policies it got configured on the devices, right? The account logon or date, etc., 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 right? So that is why I said this is the easiest method to configure the policies from a device admin perspective, and to secure your devices. Okay, so let's quickly move on to the third type, or the other security pillar which you want to configure, which is important for your organization. That is patching, right? So patching, this is the patching one, and in the patching you can see create profiles, etc., right? With the patching policies, you can have an option to deploy quality updates, Windows 10 quality updates, as well as Windows 10 feature updates, right? When I say quality updates, it's monthly patching, and feature updates is basically Windows 10 upgrades, right? If you go to properties, you would be able to see lot of options over here. So we don't have time to go through everything, right, in this, but we'll quickly go through it. You can select the service channel, right, semi-annual channel, or Windows Insider kind of options for testing purpose as well, right? And you can see products updates are available, you want to enable it or not. Windows driver updates are available, you want to enable it or block it. All these policies are coming, all these updates are coming from Windows Update for Business, right? This is not connected to WSUS or something else, right? So this is the Intune part of it, and Intune is configuring the policies on your Windows 10 devices, and Windows 10 device will connect to the other things, right? The Windows Update for Business, and it will get the updates, etc. Right? So quickly go on, and a lot of policies are available, a lot of configurations are available, and I'm not going to go through all this because I want to quickly show the troubleshooting thing as I mentioned previously, right? So let's go to the troubleshooting and let's see what is there in the troubleshooting thing, right? So this is the troubleshooting kind of thing which I mentioned in the start of the demo slide, right? You can see if you go to settings option in the control panel, not settings apps, right? I'm still an old guy, so probably that's why I'm using control panel again and again, right? So at settings, in settings you can see what are the policies available or what are the policies deployed, right? If you go to school account, let me go over here and see this is the option, right? If you click on access work or school, you can go to this particular connection and click on info. You would be able to see all these policies, right? These are the policies deployed to my cloud PC or Windows 365 PC. And how to troubleshoot it: one is going through the registry entries, policy manager current registry entries, and you can check for each of these policies, right? For example, credential UI policy related stuff, you can see it over here, and office related policies, outlook related policies, you can see it over here in the registry entry, and you can see this is already deployed and applied on the Windows 10 cloud PC device or Windows 365 cloud PC device, which we are accessing at the moment, right? And the other option is try to check the event viewer. Event, if I can type it correctly, event viewer. So in the event viewer also, you can go to applications and services, and you can go to device management option over here somewhere, right? If you go to Microsoft, and you can see somewhere here Windows options, and if you go down here somewhere, there is a device management option over here, and you can see a lot of events related to MDM security policies available here. So that is the demo part of it. So coming back to the slides, I think I don't want to share the slides again. I think Lilith already shared the code and the form to fill out your details. So that's fine. So I'm not going to share the slide again. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for attending, right? And probably I can take, I don't know whether we have another 2 minutes or so. We can take a couple of questions if you have any questions related to this. Okay, if you don't have any questions, that's also fine. You can always connect me offline through the communication channels already shared. So thank you again for attending this session. Hope this was helpful, and see you somewhere else.